Around Atchison, she is called Sallie the Man-Hater, a vicious specter that haunts a stately centennial home on the west bank of the Missouri River. Sallie has become a supernatural celebrity in Kansas in recent years. She's appeared on a number of local television programs, makes headlines to the newspaper every Halloween, and is the focus of many of the state's paranormal enthusiasts. But for those who have actually had the misfortune of living with Sallie, the malevolent spirit is neither an interesting conversation piece nor a subject for study, but a bad memory that should be forgotten as soon as possible. Many have been misled by Sallie's moniker. A man-hater she may be, yet Sallie is not the spirit of a jilted lover, embittered wife, or vengeful matriarch. In fact, Sallie is only a child, probably a frightened, angry one who still cannot understand why she never made it past her 7th birthday. She's been known to take out all her fear, anger, and uncertainty on certain men who dare set foot in the house in which she died. Sallie's story reaches back to the early 1900s. It was early one spring morning, and Atchison's premier physician was enjoying breakfast in his home as he looked out on the waters of the Missouri. Whatever thoughts he was immersed in were interrupted by a panicked knocking at his door. Getting up to see who it was, he instantly snapped into his medical mindframe when his eyes fell on the 2 humble forms at his front door. A tear-faced mother, sobbing in frantic concern, stood there with a young daughter in her arms. The girl was obviously in extreme pain, clutching her abdomen and letting out long, agonizing wails as she twitched convulsively. Her name was Sallie. Without missing a beat, the doctor picked the young girl up, took her to his office, and laid her down on his examination table. He arrived at his diagnosis in minutes. The girl had appendicitis, and her appendix was about to rupture. Quickly anesthetizing her with a face mask soaked in ether, he brought out his surgical tools for an emergency operation. He already had his scalpel in hand and was beginning to cut when he heard the girl emit a weak scream. Looking up, he saw that she was staring down at him as he cut. She was obviously horrified and was trying hard to get up, but between the drugs and the pain was unable, since the doctor deemed her condition too grave to delay treatment. He proceeded with the surgery, though his patient lay watching in bewildered terror. Alas, the doctor's urgency was well-founded, and the girl's appendix ruptured before he was able to remove it. She was dead before the day was up. For reasons unknown, the doctor moved out of his home soon after Sallie was buried, and for a long time after that, little was said of the incident, or of the house that it occurred in. The tragedy of young Sallie receded into local history, and it wasn't until the early 1990s that Sallie's story returned to Atchison with a bloody vengeance. A family that had just moved into the house began having disturbing experiences. Or rather, the man in the small family began having disturbing experiences. Neither mother nor daughter was ever touched. At no time did the females of the house feel in danger or even slightly out of place. Those strange events that occurred early on in the haunting were unsettling to all. The television would turn on in the middle of the night. When the husband and wife would get up, they would find only the family dog in the room, its hackles up, growling at the wall as if preparing to attack somebody neither of them could see. While they succeeded for a while at blaming the trouble with the television on the dog, they had no way of explaining the family portraits, which were continually flipped around so they hung upside down on the walls. This would usually happen sometime in the middle of the night when nobody was home. And then there were their daughter's toys. Whenever they were strewn about, they were always found shortly after arranged in a perfect circle on the floor. But these could all qualify as supernatural pranks. It wasn't until the attacks began that things got really out of hand. The man of the house could feel the change in his bones. One day, the house just got cold and it never got warmer. Though his wife and daughter didn't complain, the husband could never get comfortable. When he wasn't struggling with the constant temperature drops, he was fighting off the butterflies in his stomach, feeling as if someone was going to hit him at any time. Sure enough, the attacks began shortly thereafter. He was in a first-floor room the first time it happened. His stomach had just started its familiar adrenaline-fueled churning when he felt a painful rake across his forearm. The man looked down to see 3 long gashes running down his arms. Over the next few months, the attacks continued. Sometimes he would feel the slashing across the back. On other occasions, he would double over as 3 cuts made their way across his stomach. Rest grew increasingly difficult. Strange dreams would often interrupt feverish sleep, and more than once he would wake to see a glowering young girl standing at the foot of his bed, staring at him silently. That was when the family decided to move. The popular belief is that the girl was Sallie, who was also responsible for the attacks on the father. If this is true, Sallie is a lonely spirit, unable to understand why she had to die and why she was subjected to so much pain before she passed. It's possible that her experience on the operating table has caused her to take her anger out on all men. The only problem with this explanation is that no stories have emerged from the house since the family moved away, though other families have moved in since, some including men. No bizarre events or malicious attacks have been reported. Maybe the man who was attacked bore a striking resemblance to the doctor in question. It could also be that Sallie was waiting for the 90th year anniversary of her death to arrive and is quite quiet once again. Who knows? All that is certain is that a house in Atchison became famous in the early 1990s, and there are many supernatural buffs who are waiting for young Sallie to strike again.